Hari Om. A small notion on the devotion of a devotee. So, how will the devotion of a devotee be when compared to the ordinary people, normal people? So, actually, normal people, they worship God, they do puja, they do archana, they go to temples, they go to pilgrimages, all these. So, all these are the different paths to purify our mind, to purify our thoughts, to purify our heart. Actually, sopanas, the different steps. Whatever we do, they all are there to purify. That means at that moment or on that particular days when we take this the dikshas, or on the days when we go to pilgrimages. So we don't do any sort of wrong thoughts or abusing anyone. We don't say any bad words like that. In the same way, at the time of doing puja or archana or going to temple, time to time, we don't utter any sort of bad words. So all these are only to purify the mind and heart thoughts. So in a purified mind, at least for some time, we don't think any ill of anybody, anything ill. But it doesn't come under devotion of devotees, because the devotion of a devotee is totally different from that of a ordinary person. The devotees, they don't bother about what is going to be done to them. Even if something bad is done to them, they will simply think it is an act of God. They don't take it to mind. And they don't wish for any desires. They don't wish that their desires be fulfilled. They don't pray for God like that. They don't offer anything like that to God, wishing for something. So here, if we take some devotees like Radha Devi, Gopikas, and Sudama, that means. So we find so much of surrendering and giving the highest importance to the Lord than their personal benefits. So if we take Radha, so she was prepared to go to hell also, because at one instance, so Lord Krishna, he wanted to test who is the best of the devotees, and he pretended as if he had a severe headache. And at that time, we know that Narada, so he is the first person to test anyone. So here he just told the Lord that headache won't go unless someone takes the dust from their feet, from under their feet, and apply it to your forehead. So first Rukmini and Satyabhama and all the others, they when they heard this, they were shocked. So they were just thinking how they could apply the dust from under their feet to their Lord, to the Lord of Lords. They were all thinking that they will go to hell, they will get that pap, sin. They'll be doing sin and they will go to hell. And the first, when the Gopikas heard, they were all so much distressed. And this note slowly it went to the ears of Radha. So they all the Gopikas and the Radha, they came running. And when they heard what was the remedy for his headache, so Radha came forward, and she was prepared to take the dust from under her feet and apply it to the Lord's forehead. When Narada Maharshi asked her if she is not afraid to go to hell by doing this act, which is a sin according to the law, then she said she is not bothered about going to hell also. She only wants that her Lord be relieved of the headache from which he is suffering. So, what a devotion it is. So, giving first priority to the person to whom they are devoted than themselves. So, that is why it must be Krishna. He put Radha in her heart and he said that there is no difference between Radha and Krishna. And Krishna, Radha is his Atma and he is the Paramatma. So who will dare to do like that? When we take Goda Devi, another devotee. So actually, from her childhood, she was just thinking that she wanted to marry Govinda. And though her father was stopping her from so many activities, like first wearing the garland in her neck and then adoring it uh, on the around the neck of the Lord. And whatever first she used to eat, then she used to give to the Lord. So as her prasad, let us say, it's not the Lord's prasad. And like this, if we see, then we feel that they are not bothered about where they would go after the life. They are not bothered even to go to hell. But they only wanted to show their devotion, that they are totally dedicated, they are surrendered to the Lord. They only want that the Lord be safe, secured, and relieved of every whatever suffering they feel that the Lord feels. So here, another devotee, Sudama, a friend of the Lord, a childhood friend. This childhood friend, actually, we all know that his name was later on turned to Kuchela because he had so many children and he became very poor. He had not a mouthful of grains to feed his children and his wife. They had only uh, very few clothes to put on. So one they used to dry and one they used to wear on their body. So like that. And it was during this time, but all the time he never forgot this Lord Krishna. He was all the time remembering his childhood friend. So it so happened that his wife, she told him, why don't he go to Lord Krishna and ask, tell their problem, so their conditions, so that he would help them. And she also ask him to help them because they were so poor and they were badly in need of food grains at least. And whereas Krishna, he was in multiple riches, so big palaces. And she gave a handful of puffed rice to this Sudama to give to his friend. And on his wife's words, he also felt like seeing his childhood friend Krishna, and so he went there. And Krishna, how beautifully he recollected his childhood friend, and he was overjoyed to see him. He caught him by his hand and made him sit on a simhasana. And then other thing, he washed his feet, and he spent so much of time with him. Then he also asked, what did he bring to him? Then when Sudama showed that handful of puffed rice, he just started eating that rice. So this is another aspect. So what he did, how many fistful of puffed rice he ate, and how Rukmini Devi, she stopped him from eating the third fistful of rice. It is a different aspect. But after staying there for some time, he spoke with the Lord all the time. He saw his riches, he saw his wealth and everything. And he did not ask him, he did not tell his condition also. He did not ask him that he wanted something. But just at the time of leaving, he very happily left the place, and very happily with his heart filled with blissfulness on seeing the Lord and spending the time with the Lord. He forgot his actual situation also. He didn't want to ask. He just showed his devotion and returned home. But on returning home only, he knew that his old tattered hut was changed into a palace and all the rest. So devotees, they don't feel like asking him anything. On the contrary, if they have anything, they feel like giving him. And if it is even their food which they are eating, if the Lord wants from their plate, they are ready to give because he asked. They are not bothered about where they go, whether they go to hell or heaven, or whether they suffer over there. That's not immaterial. That all is immaterial for them. They only want that the Lord be happy, and that the Lord asked, so they wanted to do it. Only that. So here this is a beautiful concept of a devotee. A real devotee is not bothered about what the Lord gives. He is only bothered about what he could give to the Lord. So this is the difference between a devotee and a normal human being. A devotee may not perform any pujas, but all the time in his heart, the Lord will be there. He'll be always thinking of the Lord. He'll be always adoring the Lord. So this is something that all the time the devotee feels the ecstasy in his heart. Because he feels that he and the Lord are not separate. They are not separate entities. So he is not a separate entity from the Lord. So he is from the Lord, and again the Lord is of his only. He is in the heart of the Lord, and the Lord is always in his heart. So that's what he feels. Har Om.